can you play some Beyonce? And I know that statement will obviously piss a lot of people off, right? Because there's that divide of lots of people out there saying, you know, sync is bad, right? And there's no...
Donuts and DJs.
Donuts and DJs.
Donuts and DJs. Donuts and DJs.
Donuts and DJs.
Oh yeah, what's up? Welcome back to the T-Beck channel here on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to episode 2 of Donuts and DJs. And today I got the one, the only, Brad Goldman.
Hey.
I'm so excited. We don't get to see each other as often as we'd probably like, but this man's been around for a long time. He's done a lot of cool stuff, and I'm so excited to talk to him about it and pick your brain a little bit.
Well, thank you. Awesome introduction. Appreciate that.
Thank you for the donuts, and got a little coffee treat here
Can't
too.
have donuts without coffee.
Caffeine and sugar. All right, so just a quick introduction. Brad Goldman. I know a little bit, but I want you to tell them, like, I know that you had a lot or a little to do with 515 back in the day, and, you know, just tons of other events and festivals around the local Des Moines scene. So give us a little introduction.
Yeah, so that could take hours in and of itself. But I started DJing when I was really young. I would say probably around 15, 16 years old. It was probably sometime around 1996 or so. I maybe even kind of started as a hip-hop DJ. Back then, I mean, I loved all kinds of music that I came across. The bad boy stuff Puffy was putting out, all the way to Crystal Method, who's coming to town soon and awesome. Just really gamut all across the board, even like punk rock and skater music and that kind of stuff. So just got drawn to it, thought it was really interesting, bought myself a pair of turntables, and just really self-taught and struggle for a number of years trying to figure it out how it all worked. But it really comes down to practice and whatnot, and through the years transition from turntables to more technology-oriented stuff, and fell in love. I lived in Miami for a little while, so did the shift from really hip-hop to more electronic underground music, house and techno, and that adapted over the years. You know, did my EDM years where it was just pumping craziness, and it kind of have landed on more underground tech house. Still a lot of energy, but just kind of deep grooves, you know? So that's the sound. I was definitely involved with 515 Alive from the beginning when Rich McCabe, Flash, started it. Was very supportive of him, loved the idea. He did great things and had a great vision. He did it for about 7 years, I think, and had to go take care of his father in Pennsylvania, I believe, and agreed to take the festival over and keep it going. I did that for 3 years, had all kinds of crazy experiences, had a lot of fun, worked really hard, had a lot of challenges, and life changes, and the right timing came along. Had the opportunity to pass it along to Dan and Raj, who now have just taken it to a whole nother level, exploded the whole thing, and are doing great with it. So that's kind of the adventure in short, and all kinds of great parties and great stuff that's happened along the way. And I'll be 40 this year in September. The love for it hasn't died off a bit. Just last weekend we were down in Miami for Winter Music Conference, and just Friday all the way till right before we left on Sunday. Parties the whole time, great DJs, hearing what's fresh and up front and what people are doing right here and right now across the world. So still love it, still involved in it, still hope to do new, great, neat things.
Yeah, that's amazing. That was a lot to take in, but it was amazing because it was short and concise and perfect. And I just want to recap some things that I'm jealous you went to a Winter Music Conference, because I tell everybody who will listen, I'm like, yeah, January, February tend to be dead months for like music in general. And then March comes and boom, everything's just going crazy. And especially to be down there in Miami when the stuff that's basically going to be the hits of this spring and this summer, maybe even into fall, depending on how long it takes to get to Iowa or whatever. But yeah, you hear it all like then, and it is an amazing experience. And thank you for giving us that recap of the 515 history real quick, because that, I know a lot of people out there love that, and it's amazing to me how it started out with such a grassroots, small time thing, but so many of us are like still involved in the scene and still propping it up and taking care of each other. It's just a beautiful thing.
I'm so proud of what it's become, and so proud of Raj and Dan for the vision they've had for it and what they've taken it to make it into. It's just phenomenal.
Heck yes. And I think in short, I wouldn't have met, I met like you guys all around the same time, and I don't think I would have met Dan and Raj if it hadn't been for like you and Tobias and everybody. So like, yeah, dude, as soon as I got down to Des Moines, it was nothing but open arms and love from the DJs and everybody down here, and it was...
Well, the good thing about Des Moines is I think it's really always been family.
Exactly.
And it's funny for me at this point, I see people on the internet now that I haven't even met yet, just because my life's changed a little bit, but I think the same thing stays true. There are some DJs that I haven't even met in person that I saw were going down to Miami, and I hit them up. I said, listen guys, if you want to catch some pizza down on the beach, let's go hang out. I hadn't even met these guys in Des Moines, so it's that kind of sense of family that if you're involved in it here in Des Moines, you're part of the family, really.
Exactly. That's perfect. I'm gonna take a bite of this. What you said, these were the famous croissant donuts?
Yeah, so this is what Chu Chu Donuts is famous for, is their croissant donuts. And so you can either call them a cronut or a doughnuts, depending on how you like to call it. These are the original croissant donuts, and they're very good. They're a little dense like a normal donut, but they also have the glazed croissant, which I gotta tell you, this is actually my favorite. It's a little bit lighter, a little bit fluffier, but still got that nice sugar coating on it.
Yeah, this is already amazing. Awesome recommendation, awesome display skills from the one and only Brad Goldman. Man knows his stuff. Okay, so I think we can say this is safe to say this is one of your favorite types of donuts. Do you have any other go-to junk or snack food that you like to have around, or like just maybe a guilty pleasure every now and then?
Well, I love food. I mean, that's just the thing. And I watched the first episode, so I hate to say this, but I also am a huge pizza lover. You just can't go wrong with pizza. But I love a lot of ethnic foods. I love Indian food. I've been introduced recently to sticky rice with a sauce called jow. It's about the best thing ever. I love spicy food, so anything spicy, can't get enough of it.
That answers our question, sweet or spicy too, but I think we're hitting both things. You know?
I mean,
yeah.
A little sweet's always good, but
sweet in the
spicy,
morning.
Spicy every day, all day.
Exactly. Perfect. Must-have beverage. Whether it's out, while you're out at the club, or whether it's...
Yeah, so coffee. I am definitely a caffeine addict. I drink a lot of coffee, and I'm the kind of person that just kind of like regular potted coffee. Too light. I need heavy dark coffee. Pretty much espresso only.
Yeah. No cream, no sugar, just...
this one, normally I'll drink straight espresso. This one's got a little bit of milk, frothed milk in it, but, so whatever. I mean, anything. I think it's the caffeine that I'm into.
Yeah. I hear you.
I also
crave it.
There's an energy drink called Zions. John Leonetti, Johnny Rage, hit me onto that when we first met many years ago. Zions Cherry Lime, that's where it's at. And then so from an adult beverage standpoint, I'm a vodka guy. I can say probably I can't remember a DJ set that I've done in the last 7 years that didn't involve a combination of vodka and Zions Cherry Lime. Pretty much every single time. I don't even know if I could DJ without it. Who knows?
That's awesome. Yeah, Zions is one of the only energy drinks that I drank, after being so exposed to all these energy drinks and caffeine, that still like gave you a little bit of a jolt,
Yeah, I feel like it doesn't give you that jittery weirdness afterwards. It's a nice clean energy drink.
Exactly.
I don't know that it's a health food drink, but as far as it goes, it's not too bad.
Yup. Let's see. Okay, we're gonna switch it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Biggest fear.
Definitely zombies.
Zombies?
Yeah, zombies would be really bad.
Have you started spotting out locations around town and downtown, and you're like, this might be not, a decent place to hide out?
No, I'm not prepared in any way, shape, or form. I mean, I think about it daily, how unprepared I am, and that I should get myself some kind of the survival kit, the exit kit or whatever.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
No, I'm completely unprepared. The other one, zombies and meteors, like a big meteor, that would be bad.
Yeah, there's not much we can do about that.
Yeah.
Unless Bruce Willis and then we're gonna get on the spaceship,
Meteor coming in, you're just screwed.
That's right. Favorite movie and/or TV. Favorite movie and/or TV show series. Could be Netflix. Could be
Yeah, looking forward to Game of Thrones. That's gonna be awesome. Favorite movie. I'm gonna tell you, just as this one's for anybody who hasn't seen it, just because we're DJ talking or whatever. There's a movie called It's All Gone Pete Tong, and it was released 10 years ago now. I'll give you the short synopsis. It's about a DJ resident in Ibiza who, over the course of the movie, completely loses their hearing. And it's kind of touching, and you go through his struggles and stuff, but then it also kind of turns into a ridiculous comedy where he makes a comeback as a DJ with no hearing.
Yeah.
So the movie's crazy, and I think it's got this really, really good feel-good ending. So maybe not my favorite movie of all time, but one that I really, really
Well,
really
yeah, and
like.
it's a good recommendation for anybody out there looking for DJ movies, because sometimes it's hard to find, good, accurate representations, or just movies in general that deal with DJing and our culture and our scene and stuff, because I feel like it's either really well made documentaries, where sometimes they might even just focus on the artist and their upbringing too much as opposed to like the music they make and all that, or it's a Hollywood blown out of proportion Zac Efron kind of.
I like that one.
I haven't even seen it.
Yeah,
I heard
no-
it, and no hate on Zac Efron. I think he's a fine actor, but I need to check that out.
I think you got to take it with a grain of salt,
Of course.
not take it too seriously, like it's gonna be something that it's not.
Right.
It was just a cute little movie.
Nice.
I
Yeah,
don't
we
think it was
don't-
a great representation of the scene or whatever.
There's one on Netflix too. It's called I think it's called EDM, and it's like Enter the Dangerous Mind or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I didn't watch that one. I watched the preview and I was like, okay, I gotta
Dude,
pass.
it's
I gotta
so
pass.
weird. It's about like some guy who, like he kind of makes like, industrial trance or something, but at the same time he's like stalking people. I don't know. It's crazy.
Okay, that's not the one I've seen. The other one is like a Netflix one, and it's like some girls that go to Ibiza and like start dating a DJ, and I was just like, nah, this seems whack.
Right.
But one more. So I think it's on Netflix, and it's called The Get Down.
Oh, okay,
And
yep.
it was put out by directed. At least the first one was directed by Baz Luhrmann, who did Romeo and Juliet and another other. He's just a real creative director. I like his style.
Did he do Moulin Rouge?
Yeah. And it kind of has this really interesting story about some kids, and it's got some Grandmaster Flash history in it. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I think I watched at least for sure the first two or three episodes. Yep.
First couple were the best. Kind of trailed off at the end, but
Yeah.
good thing.
Let's see. We kind of covered the W's of DJing, when, why, where you got started. And we even covered a little bit of the festivals and events. So let's just skip to like artists that inspire you. And it could have been all the way back in, 96, what got you into it. It could be people now that keep you, hungry for it.
Yeah.
Artists that inspire you, or just that you look up to in general.
Yeah, I mean, that's hard to figure out even where to start.
I know.
I mean, I guess, let me first say, like, Sasha, right? Sasha's been around forever, as long as I can remember listening to music. And saw him last summer, and he's still at the top of his game. You listen to, I think it was at Spring Awakening last year, and you listen to DJs throughout the whole day, and you had fun, and you heard a lot of good stuff. And then Sasha and Digweed came on, and it was just, you just knew you were in a whole different level of quality and talent. Very rarely do I just listen to a DJ and go, I don't even understand what I'm listening to. This isn't house music. This isn't techno. These guys are just...
It's like creating a vibe.
Yeah.
Because I actually got I was very fortunate to go on like a Red Bull yacht party thing in Miami back 5 years ago now or more, and Digweed was playing a private party. Like it was, Red Bull put it on, Digweed was spinning, and then they gave out free vodka Red Bulls, and there was like some food. But yeah, it was awesome because he played all day and into the night, and then we got to go like over or underneath this bridge that opened up, and everything was neon. But yeah, like you said, he's very good at creating just like an atmosphere. It's not about transitions and this and that. It's just like this atmosphere. It's just amalgamating and changing and evolving. It's cool.
I read an article, I wish I knew which DJ said this, but they said about Sasha, like, he's the guy that can play your records better than you can.
Yeah, exactly.
So Sasha's great. A huge influence for me right now since about 2016 is we went to, we were loving Mark Knight, still love Mark Knight and Tool Room Records. I just think he's kind of just got this great crossover, underground music, but really putting it out there in a commercial sense, very accessible and stuff. So we wanted to go to this Tool Room party, and they were doing the party with Stereo Productions, and I was not particularly familiar with these guys, Chus and Ceballos, their whole thing is the drums always present. So lots of percussion, lots of drums. And that kind of shifted my whole perspective on what I wanted to be playing. And I don't really remember at the time. It was probably a little bit more EDM oriented, and I was kind of maybe toying with tech house, but I didn't know that I was playing tech house. It was just like, oh, I'm kind of liking these records. But I think at that time, the tech house records I was playing, I wasn't being really exposed to the full gamut of it. And so after hearing Chu Chu Donuts, I started to transition and find better tech house. And so that party influenced kind of what I was playing a ton. So love that. And then I would say maybe most recently, and I've got to see this guy over the last couple of years, is Paco Osuna. I can say without a doubt, and I've also got this feeling from a lot of other people that get to see a lot of DJs, Paco is by far their favorite DJ. You know, breaking the mold and he has a sound all of his own. It's just pounding. It's everything you want just a rough, raw, techno party to be. But he's able to make it really, really accessible and danceable. And we saw him on Saturday at El Row, and he just infused a lot of vocals and pop music, which I wasn't expecting. But the combination between just a raw techno and then make it accessible for people. I mean, he smashed it. So, loving all of those people among many, many, many others right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that last guy out for sure. What do you say his name is?
Paco Osuna.
Osuna?
I think one of the other cool things that he's doing is he's really, really tight with Nicole Maudaber and Doug Fire. All good friends, and when they get a chance to come together, they play back to back to back. So all three of them playing at the same time.
Yeah.
They're also all Model 1 DJs, that new mixer that Richie Houghton came out with.
Okay.
So I think that really is something I've only had a chance to goof around with it for about 5 minutes, but I think there really is something, that piece of equipment, mixer, has the effect that it can take DJing in a little bit different direction. Probably best I can say is that transition from not just DJing, but almost kind of like performing live. It's got some technology that allows that to progress at this point. So I think all that's super cool. I'm
gonna have to check that out too. I'm a little behind on like technology because like I said this in our last video, but I was like, DJs tend to find equipment that you work on or whatever, and you just get comfortable with it, and then it's like you want to push yourself, but it's like, do I want to spend the money and then go like this way, or do I want to go that way?
Yeah.
But when you said Richie Houghton, I know that name, and I know that dude, and you said the key word there was more like performing live as opposed to, and that always,
Yeah, well, so
gets me a little
the
excited.
thing doesn't even have EQs on it, right?
Okay.
It's the whole channel line has, it's got a drive, it's got filters, it's got filters on each channel, it's got a master filter, it's got 2 send returns on each channel. I mean, it really opens up the possibilities to shape the sound on each channel. So, you got a little loop here, and you can take out a huge portion of the dynamics of the audio and just leave that little sound that you want.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. It's a real different take on performance and DJing, and so I think that stuff's cool. It's it shapes the future of what's coming.
Oh yeah, and I think it's only a matter of time before like those VR games and stuff where you're like playing, like it's gonna be before you're just creating music basically like with your hands and motion and stuff. I'm excited. All right, that was dope. Let's I want to take a bite of this real quick.
Yeah, I'm going
This
into
is-
the
right?
proper Cronut dosant.
So he's going to the old school now. I'm going to the new version. Yep. I see what you mean about lighter and fluffier, but they're both spectacular.
Favorite donut in town, without a doubt.
We're gonna need that because it's time to tell one of the craziest DJ stories you got off the top of your head. And yeah, I'm sure if we go back to '96, I mean the possibilities are endless.
Man,
But
I don't know, the craziest
DJ story off the top of your head.
I think it's it's weird. I really I don't know that I have one that just kind of blows my mind, but I think probably the craziest and maybe one of the stupidest things that I ever did was there was that time period that Tobias and I were doing the climax parties, and we came to play Jokers in Cedar Falls. Was it called Jokers at the time?
I think so, yeah.
And you know, we were always at the time we were always coming up with things that we could use to engage the crowd. We were using a lot of like inflatable blow up animals and stuff. It was a lot of like, what can we throw at the crowd that they're gonna have a fun time with and create an experience or whatever. And I also owned a cryo cannon. So we brought the cryo cannon and we brought a ton of confetti. And we you know, from time to time we'd stuff the confetti in the cryo gun and shoot it, and it would all blow out all over the place. And there was a guy that was also there at the club that came up into the DJ booth. He will go unnamed at this time. And at the end of the night, when the party was just about ending, we still had a huge bag of confetti, and he found it, and he took the confetti, I mean all of it, and just threw it everywhere.
Oh, no.
And I'm only telling you the story because this is your dad's club.
Yeah.
And I know that those guys hated us forever because of this, and I don't blame them. because
Anybody
we
with
made,
carpet hates confetti.
oh
pretty
man,
much,
did we
but
make
yeah.
a mess.
Whoops.
Yeah, so I don't know. That was one of the that was one of the just most insane things that if I could go back on all my DJing, I would look back and say maybe we shouldn't have done that.
Right. It's like confetti seems so much fun at the time, but
Yeah.
it can get you in so much trouble.
But so that was one that I was involved with, and then so when we were in Miami this weekend on Saturday night, we went to El Row. And for those people who don't know what El Row is, it was I think they actually have a venue in Spain, but it's grown, and they do this party all over the world, and it's very similar to what we used to do with Climax, which is just crazy all over the place. But people dress in costumes, and they're weird, and they have black lights, and they built a forest in this building, and at the height of things and when it's really pumping, they have more confetti than you have ever seen in your whole entire life. Like cannons this big that just blow out confetti for 5 minutes. And hands down, since 2000 or 95, 96 or whatever, by far the best party I've ever been to. And everybody I was with said the same thing. Great lineup of DJs. We saw Technasia and Dosum and Latman and Detlef and Paco Suna really played probably the longest best set. And before him got to see Claptone. Also amazing.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's some craziness just kind of off the top of my head.
Yeah, those are the kind of parties I've always wanted to like throw and go to as well. And it's like it's hard to find one where like everyone participates, But like I was growing up, something that inspired me about DJing and just like the culture in general was like what the movie Party Monster is based off of and that whole story. But like it wasn't so much the dark stuff is there and all that too. But I liked how the kids all believed in it, the club culture and the like actually dressing up and being a character. Obviously, if you check out any of my other videos on YouTube, I love dressing up in costumes and being silly. So like it's a big thing, and I think it's part of just letting yourself go, which is the whole point of like music and expression. And that's awesome.
Absolutely.
The fact that you got to go to one of those parties like that in Miami.
Well, it was great.
It's always-
We done it last year. I think we went to El Row last year, and they didn't do it as well. It's like they were just introducing it to the U.S. and the party was okay, but
Refining and the process gets better. Yeah.
yeah, I felt like they were more committed this year, and they put on a better show, and it came off. It was fantastic. I would do that again. They got a residency in Vegas, this starting soon, really. And so if anybody's going to Vegas, that's when you want to plan. Go to that party. It is. I think it's I shouldn't say. I don't remember exactly where it's at, but it's at the Wynn.
Look it up. You'll figure it out. Yeah. That's amazing though. All right. Well, what aspect of the craft are you currently working on? Or like trying to pursue? It's tickling your fancy.
Two things really, and one of them has been like a long-term journey, and that's producing my own music. And it's I would say my biggest challenge at the moment is the time commitment because I'm not particularly a professional DJ. This has always been hobby and fun. Got a full-time job and with family and stuff, it's hard to find time to isolate yourself and go into the studio because you do have to sit there and do your thing and stay focused on that without interruptions and stuff. So I love doing it, but you know, it's a challenge, and there's a lot to learn. So it's almost like a lifetime journey of you know, learning electronic music, because you know, all respect for people that like play an instrument or whatever, but you focus on that with making music and being a producer in the electronic realm. You have to learn so much, you know, arrangement, mixing and mastering. Well, not necessarily mastering, but you know,
If you want to do it yourself, but yeah. I mean,
you know, how to properly do compression, how to properly like apply
EQ.
automation.
Yeah, everything.
You know, and my biggest challenge is I love making little snippets of stuff and whatever. It's the chore of arrangement to me that's tough.
Yeah.
And I've always found one hint that I have benefited from is to use a template. Look at another project that somebody's already done and said, you know, at this point, you know, this is a great place to do a breakdown, and this is where you should put your drop and whatever. And so then, as opposed to having to try to creatively figure out where should this happen and where should you drop out your kick for a bar and all that kind of stuff, you know, you've already created a groove, and then you just kind of apply it to this thing, and boom, you have a song. I'd love to get to the point where, without looking at a model, that's all just in my head of like where I want it to go and stuff. But so that's one of my challenges. So the production thing, obviously, I love it. It's super fun. I recommend it to anybody who loves music and wants to, you know, try to apply and be creative with music. It's a lot of fun. And when I started this, producing was not accessible to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Now, producing music is accessible to anybody that wants to be committed to do it. So that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so many different kinds of free apps and all kinds of things you can make just little things on, like I've even heard people make, you know, beats on a free app that sound like pretty passable.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, the technology's amazing. And lately, when it comes to producing and recording for myself, I've been thinking about it a lot like an artist would use different color paints on their palette, you know, because what I'll do is I'll record like all these different takes, and then I'll kind of go back in and I'll kind of like cut stuff out here and there, and so like you kind of just feel like you're painting in that way. But yeah, I definitely know what you meant, because I'm one of those people that came from doing instruments and recording into like, you know, Tascam 8-track memory card things, like, but with, you know, my guitar and vocals and stuff. So then transitioning into the digital world was just learning the DAW in general is you know, barrier to entry. And then figuring out what each channel does, where it's going, what's sending to what you know, and just lots of YouTube helps, and finding people who know what they're talking about and are knowledgeable and are getting the sound that you like. So you know what I mean? You're not hearing someone who's making a sound that you're like, oh, I don't even like what they're producing. But yeah, someone who's, you know, creating fat, full, rich production, and you're like, that's what I want to sound like.
It's impressive, right? I mean, I'll make something, I'll be like, oh, that was fun, but then you match it to like some other track that, you know, I want to play out in a DJ set. I'm like, whoa, got a long way to go.
Right.
But you know, that's part of the journey. That should be part of the fun. It's kind of endless, right? It's like one of the things that I know nothing about is synthesis. You know, if you put a synthesizer in front of me, I'll goof around with it, I'll make a sound, but you know, I know very little about what I'm actually doing. You know, I'm just tweaking stuff till it sounds like something interesting. I know there's people that, you know actually what these things are doing.
Yeah, why the waves on top of each other make the sound they do. Exactly.
So that all that impresses me. And I think what the best thing to do is you have to focus in on a couple things that make sense to you and that you're drawn towards, because the universe is so vast, you can get lost in all the things
make little incremental goals that you can kind of knock out, and then after 6 months to a year you'll go back and be like, holy cow, I've come so far in this, and then just keep doing those little incremental goals, and before you know it, you just increase the gap. And I really like what you said about music is a lifetime journey, because it is. And like, I know that so many people out there, you know, they just want the instant fame or the instant recognition, and it's like, no, you almost don't, because then you basically plateau, and you have to you're trying to chase that high for the rest of your life. It's like, if you really love music and you love the art and the craft of it, you'll love, you know, getting better over time and being on your own journey. Everyone's journey is different, and it's going to take you, you know, somewhere different, but where it's meant to be. And so just enjoy the ride and learn as much as you can, talk to as many different people as you can, collaborate,
The other thing that's really important to me is I don't force myself to produce music that sounds like what I DJ, right? Is that I know what I want to play when I'm doing a show of any kind, whether it be a club or outdoors or whatever, I know what I want to play. But when I go into the studio to make music, I don't tell myself that I need to make music that sounds like that. I just kind of let come out whatever comes out, and which has been fun. Just out of all the tracks that I've made, they don't all sound the same. I mean, they sound a variety of all kinds of different. And my hope is that I make music that sounds uniquely like me. And I've tried, even though you want it to be like club friendly and party friendly and just bomb, you know, sometimes you're gonna spit out stuff that like is just weird and like isn't fit for a club, but that's the music you made today. And I try to be okay with that.
Yep. There's whether it's music or just content creation in general, I find there's so many times where it's like sometimes you just got to make stuff for you. It's like, you know, I want to put the time and the effort into this, to whether it's to better this skill or that skill, but I feel like it's something I want to do for myself, something I need to do for myself, and that's what it should be all about anyway. I mean, as far as creating and that, like, that's the one area of life we kind of get to be selfish, you know, and do things our own way.
And then the ultimate goal is, right, is like when I'm up there at a DJ set, that it's hybrid, right? Is that maybe some of it's other people's tracks, but I'm at the point right now where I want to bring an Ableton push into the performance and start to introduce, you know, like maybe I have one channel that's just all, you know, hi-hats of different types, and then throughout the set, if I want to bring it, I'm like, I want a hi-hat right now. You know, one knob and I got a hi-hat. So that's
or
kind
like
of
different melodies or something. You know, you're like, this would go good over this right now. Like,
Yep. So that's cool. That's the next hope, is to, you know, merge production and DJing at the same time in performance.
I think that's one thing too that like really trips out some of the older DJ guys I've talked to, like the guys who did the club scene, you know, in the 80s and 90s, and then like right when technology came out, they kind of like just stopped like working or, you know, progressing with the technology. So I think that's the most different thing to them, is like back then it used to just kind of be spinning track to track or mixing track to track, you know, and like nowadays even just regular club DJs like myself is so much more of like live remixing and creating a vibe on top of playing what people want to hear and stuff. So it's like, it's sometimes it's a lot for them to handle, but this is,
Well, I think the most important thing is like is to try not to put labels on things, right? It's like when Deadmau5 says, I'm not a DJ, or when Pre-Owned Joni says, I'm not a DJ.
We're coming.
You know, I don't think any of that matters, right? I mean, it's like everybody's doing it because they love it, and whether you're playing records and scratching, or whether you're you know, you're up there with Ableton Live and a controller and no DJ equipment, or whether, you know, however you're doing it, I'd like to think that we can all get to a point where it's all just music and performance and trying to make, you know, enjoying it yourself, trying to make other people happy, or you know, introducing people to something new and weird that they haven't heard. But you know, it all comes from the same source.
Exactly.
And it's all kind of expanded out into all these different unique things that are happening. They're all awesome. They're all okay to be doing. And you know, hopefully someday where there's just support for all of it.
Right, yeah, exactly. Everybody can have their own niche group. Like that's what I love about, you know, YouTube and the internet in general, is that in theory everybody, like there's an audience for everybody who wants to create out there, and I love it. And like I said, I just love meeting people, talking to people, sharing experiences, and I hope by doing this that we put more of that energy out there, you know.
I love Pre-Owned Joni, by the way. He's one of my favorite people in the world, and he is a DJ. He's a great.
He's doing this. He said he wants to do it.
Awesome. He's a great producer. He's a great DJ.
Oh yeah.
He's an awesome
great
guy.
guitar player.
Yeah, true.
Just a great friend to have too. Yep. What would be like a palate cleanser for you? Let's say, you know, you need a break from electronic music, you need a break from everything, and it's just like, I'm gonna go out, you know, drive out to the lake with the family or something, and just palate cleanse. And
yeah, you know, it's funny, that kind of doesn't happen for me. Because maybe my thing is, earlier on in my life, I probably spent a significant amount of my time searching for music, listening to music, practicing, working on the festival. I mean, it was a huge focus, and at this point in my life, it's been a little bit of a shift where I almost wish I was spending more time working on music or whatever. So
or like having
the free time
to seek it out.
Yeah. So yeah, at the moment, that's not particularly happening for me. But I mean, yeah, being out in nature and whatever. I mean, that's always just a great escape from all the hustle and bustle and craziness of normal everyday life. So that's, yeah. But I mean, to me, at this point in time, I wish I had more of it going on.
Yeah.
Just because I got so many balls I'm juggling that are not music related. Yeah. But even when I'm working or doing this or driving in the car or whatever, I mean, I got house music playing most of the time that I can.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm just like, it's like, give me as much as possible.
I guess I'm just still a metal kid at heart, because I just, like I said in the last video, I just listen to like the metal and the hardcore stuff I used to listen to back in high school, and I think it's just because I need that difference of, like, you know, my party stuff, the stuff I play at work, like all the, I don't know, I just like to dip my hand in all these different baskets, and so I have different moods, but yeah, I totally understand it.
The answer is pop music.
Yeah.
My wife makes fun of me all the time because I play underground music in the clubs.
Oh, yeah.
But then she's like, "You love pop music." I was like, "Yeah, I do."
It's like donuts. I mean, it's the donuts of music. It's sugary. It's delicious. Like, that's what it's there for. Yeah, we've already covered a lot of other questions, like producing original music. What DAW you use? Ableton?
Ableton, yeah.
Nice.
I like, so I love Ableton. I also really like Machina.
Okay.
And I don't know if I mean, I both like the software and the hardware. It all depends on kind of what task I'm trying to do. I got a lot of different things that I like to use for different tasks.
Yep, that makes sense to me. Does that make sense to you guys out there? I'm sure it does. The Reddit guys, I put this on the DJ subreddit, and everybody there said they love the idea and all this stuff, and they've been supporting. So thanks to the subreddit. Feel free to submit questions for upcoming DJs. Let's see, advice for people who want to get into DJing or, you know, production, or just make music more a part of their life.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think people that want to get into DJing probably already listen to a lot of music. Because the first one would be, you know, listen to the music, love the music, soak it in, understand it, understand the structure of it. Because, like, to me, you have to understand, at least the music I play, has a very concrete structure to it. I mean,
yeah.
And at this point,
And a
after
lot
doing
longer phrases.
Yeah, after doing it for so long, like, you know, people start counting beats and stuff. It's just ingrained in me now. I don't count beats. I just know what's coming when it's coming. Yeah. That's an interesting thing about how I DJ. When I pick my music to play, I listen to a ton of stuff, and I just, like, I'll listen to a song for maybe 10 seconds and maybe kind of jump through it a little bit, but I don't listen to it very long. I just kind of, I call it spot listen to it. And I'm like, yeah, I like the vibe of this song, throw it in a crate. So the majority of songs that I play in a DJ set, I've never actually heard the song. And so for me, that makes it super fun because the crowd is experiencing it for the first time, and I'm experiencing it for the first time, and that makes it a lot of fun. I think it's one of the very unique kind of ways that I DJ that I've never heard anybody else say.
Yeah.
But
it's like the exact opposite of what I do. I have all my stuff memorized, so I know where it's gonna go where. But yeah.
You know, as far as recommendations to people just getting started, because a lot of people over time have come to me and said, you know, can you help me get started? And my reaction to that is like, you know, the first thing you have to do is go buy a piece of gear. I don't care if it's the cheapest thing out on the market or the most expensive gear, and I know that kind of stinks because, you know, you got to make an investment in it and a commitment to it. But I think that initial commitment is important if you want to get started in it. And then most importantly, because if I were to sit down with somebody and go, okay, here's how it all works. If you don't have a piece of gear to go take away and go work on that, you haven't really started. So unless, or I mean, the other alternative is if you could borrow one of your friends' gear or something. But I think you gotta grab a platform, even if it's not the platform you end up with, and, you know, have something to go home and goof around with, because that's really what it's about. Is you can't possibly understand how to apply a filter or when to apply a filter or reverb or delay or whatever
Or
unless
fader tricks,
you do it
anything,
100 times and get to the feeling of what sounds right and what doesn't. So
Exactly. I mean, with instruments, there's muscle memory, but there's just as much muscle memory with DJing and your equipment too, and knowing exactly, like you said, when to put filters on and all that stuff. And like even way back in the day when I started playing guitar, I would just bang around and like pretend, you know, when I was first starting out in lessons. But just that act of pretending and stuff was getting my hand in the right muscle memory shape and slowly forming that over time. So yeah, the more you have to actually physically mess around on in practice, it's just gonna exponentially help you.
I would also say is don't be afraid of it at all. I mean, I'm a huge believer that anybody can learn how to DJ fundamentally in 15 minutes. And I only say that because the technology exists now with sync and beat matching and all that kind of stuff.
True.
That you don't like literally somebody could explain to you, this is a fader, this is the EQ, this is what it does, this is a crossfader. You know, I mean, just the base, like what is going on there.
Yeah.
None of that stuff is that complicated. Now, going out there and doing it well in front of a crowd, that takes practice and experience and stuff. And I know that statement will obviously piss a lot of people off, right? Because there's that divide of lots of people out there saying, you know, sync is bad, right? And there's nobody out there running around being like, no, you're wrong, sync is a great thing, because I think that there's this fear that will sound stupid. Well, I'm gonna be that guy, and here's why. So, I mean, I've been doing this for a super duper long time. I started on a pair of turntables. And that was, you know, beat matching turntables is super fun, and I do think that if you're gonna be a serious DJ, you should learn how to do it. It's a great skill. You should learn about the roots of, you know, your craft and stuff.
And just what it feels like to actually touch a real jog wheel and
all of that.
Yeah.
But I gotta tell you, let me tell you what kind of terrible experience it is to be out on a dance floor, or even kind of like just a dive bar where you're DJing or whatever, and you're on a rickety table, and the guy who's having a blast out in front of you is jumping around like a madman, and all of a sudden your needle's bouncing around and everybody in the place looks at you, right? That sucks. So I love turntables. I mean, I think all of that is great. I still have a pair of them in my basement in case I ever want to pull them out and grab a bunch of my records and goof around doing that. But for me personally, when the advent of the technology started to come out and stuff, I really had a great experience by putting aside the beat matching and opening up my realm of time, my hands, everything, to all the other things that are available to you technology-wise as far as DJing goes. Playing 4 records at one time. One of my favorite things is the RMX 1000 by Pioneer.
Okay.
That thing, if I didn't have that in a DJ set, I would not be able to play to my full potential. The way that I can craft sounds and change them and take a percussion loop and just mash it and mangle it and turn it into something else different than what it is if you were to just listen to it dry. Putting beat matching aside and moving to something new opened up my world of possibilities of how I could play and work a crowd and get them excited and build things up and break them down. Changed my world.
Yeah.
Made DJing fun for me again.
yeah, which is always important. Music in general, keep it fun.
So my big thing is like, you know, the turntables are fantastic, the roots are fantastic, all that stuff should always remain, and people should practice that craft, and it's great. But that's my public service announcement against all the people that complain about the sync stuff. You know, I agree. If all you're doing is one record, do another, and you're doing that using sync, well, okay, complain about it. I get it. That's
kind of being lazy or something.
That's garbage. But I mean, you know, again, guys like Richie Houghton and Dubfire and Paco Suna and a million other people that are using this in order to open up their creative possibilities through the technology. It's hard to hate on that. It's pretty. I mean, these guys are throwing awesome sets and doing amazing things.
Well, and then I'll add 2 things to that. One is that, like, even if you do beat match manually and you do it quote unquote perfectly, there's still a possibility that it could, you know, over time start, you know, what we call like galloping or trotting or whatever. And so it's like, yeah, if you're gonna, you know, if the whole point is to like, you just need that stuff tight, that's not really important, you know, because you're not. I think that stuff is more important when you're like mixing bass lines from a song, you know, into another one and kind of doing it, in that pop or hip hop setting. But so yeah, when you're doing it in the more ambient, creating a vibe setting, the tech house, that kind of setting, it makes sense to just be like, okay, everything needs to just be tight anyway, because we're just manipulating sounds and everything. Yeah. And then 2 is I've actually heard, because of the sync button, like people can make the most crazy mashups and stuff that like shouldn't exist, and like 7 out of 10 times they might be garbage, but every now and then you're gonna get that one weird rare gem that like wouldn't have been able to really be possible without the sync button or quantizing in Ableton or something like that. So yeah, without that technology, you know, we wouldn't be able to push forward and experiment the way we can. So
I'll go on the flip side of it too and go one step deeper. So the way I have my stuff customized and my custom mappings and stuff, I got buttons so that if I've created some loops and shifted the loops and done all kinds of weird stuff, and I want to bring it all, snap it all back into, you know, out of the loops, I have it set up so when I take those loops out, everything, you know, snaps back. In Tractor, which I use, that takes something out of the whole situation, which I wish I had. So it really truly snaps everything to the grid. What I'd like to do is to still be able to pitch bend, right?
Okay.
So like the beats are matched up like this. That's not always good. Sometimes you want things just a little bit off, because that's what creates a better groove. And I do miss that part of it, right?
and it can propel things forward. But
Yeah, so I mean, I think that out of, like, I use the sync stuff all the time. It works for me, you know, and what I'm trying to do. But I do miss that ability to pitch bend the jog wheel a little bit and get not get them on, but get them off just a little bit. Because I mean, groove is everything in the kind of music I'm trying to do.
For sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. Nice, man. We're hitting all the hot topics in this one. Okay, where do you see DJing or music taking you in the next 3 to 5 years? Where would you like to take it?
You know, I just want to keep improving my skills, keep going towards that hybrid kind of thing of you know, bringing in sounds and loops and stuff, so it's producing on the fly. That's my personal goals and stuff. But I think at the end of the day, it really the ultimate goal is to influence people and make you know, provide experiences where people walk away and go, wow, that was an amazing night. You know, and quite frankly, even change people's lives. You know, I mean, some of the things that we've done at 515 and Live in the past, some people have come back to me and been like, that was the coolest thing I have ever seen, and like that has changed me forever in a positive way. I always want to be able to do that. It's, you know, it's almost funny, like, you know, last night a DJ saved my life, or like the idea that it can be that impactful. It's almost a little silly, but it's proven time and time again that, you know, people have real emotional experiences and stuff with these shows and these parties and these festivals and stuff. So
when everyone's dancing or grooving to the same beat, our brains start syncing up, our heart rhythms, everything, like it almost becomes, you know, like a, what do they call them? When you're having like a powwow in a circle, like a seance or a trance or something, like it literally, it can become that. And I think what you said too is almost Iowa in a nutshell. It's like it's an unexpected surprise. You weren't, you know, you might go to an event or a show or a party or see a DJ or come to Iowa and be blown away by what you experience and what goes on here, and you're like, I did not expect to have that happen in the middle of the map in a landlocked state, you know. Right. But I get exactly what you're saying, and I think a lot of us do that, whether it's you know, stuff I try and do with pop music and mixing all that stuff. But like, I'm still trying to do what you said, you know, open people to new kinds of music, new genres, new sounds. It's not just the same records. It's always remixed and re-edited and all that. And I think that's what, like you said, all of us as artists really want to do is find what we love or create what we love and then share it with other people, just so you can be like, isn't this amazing? Like that's, it's basically.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's almost like it's about creating those moments, right? Because very rarely do you have a whole set where that magic is happening throughout the whole set, but like the goal is to, throughout the set, build up to that moment where everybody in the room connects, and it's that magical experience.
And it's almost like a climax, you know. Exactly. I've been to events like that. I've seen DJs like that in Miami, Vegas, Minneapolis. Shout out to Joe Maz. Joe Maz is one of my homies that, like, as far as seeing other club DJs do their thing and playing top 40 records and stuff, man, like, he blew me away way back in the day, had me dancing all night, and like, and luckily he was my tour guide when I was down in Miami, so that was dope. Just DJs, man, I love it. I love getting to do this. It's awesome. What do you think then about the Des Moines music scene? Where do you see that going in the next 3 to 5 years?
That's hard. That would take a crystal ball. That's hard to say. It's a unique thing. Number one, we have such a pool of talented DJs, producers, musicians, as you said when we started. It always blows me away. I wish there was an opportunity for every person with talent to be able to be propelled to a national famous level where they're DJing the biggest clubs and stuff. And it's too bad. We live in an atmosphere now where business is business, and the people that get propelled to these stages are either almost like boy bands made by the system, or have bought so much social media following that their
numbers look nice. And,
right. And I'm not saying that's always the case, and a lot of those people have great talent too. But I do wish that some of the great talent that we have here had the opportunity to have a little bit bigger stage. I think that would be a nice thing. As far as just kind of what goes on in the clubs, selfishly, I wish it wasn't so Midwestern and conservative. What do we have, like 600, 750,000 people in the bigger metro area or something like that? That's, by the numbers, that's just not enough people to drive an underground club scene.
We have really small pockets of it, like really cool small events and stuff that happen, but it's like, as far as a continuous, steady, like, it's always there. There's that one, club that's just underground and crazy and stuff. Like, I feel like we're getting closer to that, maybe.
Yeah,
but
totally. It's people a long time ago, they weren't like, nobody listened to techno.
Yeah.
And so there's some interest in it and whatnot, and I think people are still scared of it. They don't know what to expect. I think the quality of the shows is kind of here and there, and some stuff's good and some stuff's not. That's been a problem over time, is people didn't know what to expect. But the biggest problem I see is, I drive around town, you go to Target, you go to the Starbucks and whatever, and I watch people a lot. As a DJ, we look at people and see how they're doing or whatever. And, you can tell the difference between an Iowa person and then when I was down in Miami, and like all these people that are going to shows, they're like, the one thing is not like the other, It's a different vibe, it's a different style, it's a different,
mindset,
culture, all that stuff. And that's not a bad thing at all. It just is what it is. And so, there's just not enough population. If like a sound bar from Chicago opened up in Des Moines, that's a real risk of like what's going to happen. Are people going to love it? Are people going to be like, whoa, that's weird?
And not to rag on our own home state too much, but it's and we've tried this before while opening different venues. We've tried to go more of a like a deep house format, or just like a just stray away from top 40 and that kind of stuff, and let DJs do a different thing, and it always ends up just the people that come out want to request songs and hear top 40 stuff, and it's like, we love you and stuff, but do you imagine, like, just think for a second how cool a place or a culture could be if you just like got into the idea of a groove house lounge or a tech house spot, and like just let it be what it is. I know we have a couple places like that, but they're very small, and because every time the crowd just tries to take over.
One of my favorite things ever, I don't really mean favorite things, but like I'm in the middle of playing deep house or tech house or whatever, and some lovely lady walks up and says, "Can you play some Beyonce?" Like, how does that make any sense? I know it makes sense to them, but it doesn't make sense. I with all that said, and I hope I'm not sounding too negative, I also I'm hopeful, right? Mm-hmm. Is that I think that, and the good news is there are a lot of changes coming. There are a lot of cool places opening in Des Moines that have interesting vibes and stuff. And I think that a platform is super important. It can't happen without the platform. It's not gonna spontaneously combust in this town. It's not gonna be like all of a sudden there's all these people that are like, why is there no techno house music club to go to? Now it's chicken and the egg, right?
Yep.
Is somebody's got to take that risk, open that place, and then with their fingers crossed and then
believe in
work it really hard to build a scene and create it and get people interested in it and develop fans. And that's an undertaking, and that's a risk. And I think it could happen. I think it will happen. Good things to come, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, that's the possibilities are endless, and I'm hoping, by like doing this, talking to all these other DJs, that maybe like we'll all eventually just, a few of us might spark a few ideas here and there, and you never know what can snowball just from having discussions with people and talking about this kind of stuff. But like I said, with the whole costumes and dress, like imagine if we had like a Boiler Room-esque type,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
Woo!
here's the other one that's probably what I would leave that subject with, is that somebody, I forget who posted it just a couple days ago, somebody said, Des Moines needs a bigger house music scene, and a lot of people commented, which means there's support and there's fans out there and stuff, but, I jokingly kind of was like, what do you mean Des Moines doesn't have a house music scene?
Right.
And I've been doing this for a long time, and not every party, sometimes in Des Moines, Iowa, sometimes I've had a chance to play for 2,000 people, and sometimes I've had a chance to play for 17 people.
Right.
And that has been a consistent thing. I mean, I could say anytime I want to go play, I go find a place to play, and it's always a good time. And it's, and very rarely, do people not vibe around it.
Yeah.
And I would say there's been times in the past where like I was trying to do crossover, trying to make it palatable to people while still kind of trying to introduce house music or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So people always said like spoon feed them. Did that for a long time, and it was a disaster. It never worked. And as of recently, I'm just like I'm just gonna play what I'm gonna play,
Exactly.
and that's the kind of party this is gonna be. And that's when it's gotten to be the vibe of the whole group has gotten better. I think people get what's going on, and I think there was a time for it too, whereas it wasn't as palatable as before, and now people are like, this is different, this is cool, I'm vibing on it.
Yeah, I think EDM had its giant explosion, 2010, 2012, and we're on the like tail end of that now. But it's kind of nice because it's going back to its different niche groups, but it's still a big scene here. It's big and prevalent. Obviously, 515 Live is like a huge festival
Yeah.
now, and I know so many people all across the state talk about it, look forward to it, plan it. Not only that, too, but people all across the state of Iowa are also excited about Spring Awakening, Electric Forest,
Yeah.
all the festivals. And it's so cool to see because like I got into it in the 2000s. I did my festival time, and like I'm so glad I got to experience it. And I still go to the ones I can now, especially the ones here in Iowa. And it is amazing to see the scene grow. And I feel like we're obviously with those parties that we have really good parties and good events. And I just feel like everybody's just waiting, almost like just waiting for that one crazy thing to happen or something, and they're like, oh, we found our home or whatever. And like I will give a shout out to like Wacky Wednesday and Rage Life and all that, because when I go to Wacky Wednesday, I feel like I get that little spark. I feel that. I see all the like crazy people dressed up. Sometimes I'll bring a blow up pickle or something, like we'll just have fun with it. And like that's the kind of vibe I want to like put on steroids.
I think it's also Lime Lounge needs to get an honorable mention too, because I
Yep.
think that they've always been committed to it.
Hell
and I
yes.
think that they get a lot of flack from a number of different perspectives. Number one, that they didn't stick to the formula 100%, and number two, that I think from time to time, maybe not the most preferable things happen, but it's a bar.
It's a bar in the capital city of our state. Like, things happen.
And I would say it's got to be hard to run a bar, and you can focus on the vibe, but you also have to focus on profit, because if you're not making money, you have to close your doors.
You can't stay open. You can't support the music scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lime has been awesome for having just all kinds of different DJs, all kinds of different nights, always hosting, usually willing to host, after parties and shows and stuff. Like, yeah, it's awesome. I think it's a little treasure that we have in the East Village, and I love it. I love anybody who supports the scene, so obviously.
Yep.
Man, we have done a lot of awesome stuff on this. Let's see. But I think as far as, questions, I think that's going to do it, unless it's just I'm going to give you the floor now to plug, any upcoming gigs, events you got.
No, I got nothing major. That's we as I've stepped back a little bit, become a little bit more picky choosy, and just because of the sparseness of time, as opposed to going out and trying to make every weekend happen. Coming up, we're going to be playing 8035. Gina and I are going to be playing 8035 on July 12th. And we always try to do some kind of theme. I hate themes, but like for 8035, that's the one time we try to come up with something like a theme and not only do music but also do something visually artistic around it. 2 years ago we kind of created this hologram structure. Last year we kind of built a jungle on stage. This year I looked at the calendar to see the availability and stuff, and I saw that it was Disco Demolition Night. And so for anybody who doesn't know what that is, July 12th, back in 1979, there was a radio station who put together a promotion to have people come and bring old disco records to Comiskey Park. They put all the records in the middle of the field, and they created an explosion, blew the whole thing up, blew all the records up, and called it the death of disco. And you know, I always think that that's a great story and find it ironic that kind of from that time period grew from there modern day electronic music and modern day disco and house music and techno, which are all kind of offshoots of, you know, the whole scene that was happening. So we kind of wanted to play homage to that since it was it was like 40 years to the date. So it also disco is making a little bit of a comeback in the big cities and stuff. There's disco parties popping up, and so we're going to put our own take on that and really kind of do something that melds classic disco with our current sound, because to me that's what it's about, right? Is like you can take anything on a 4x4 beat, put some dope stuff over it, and create. And so so it's going to be a little bit different than what you might hear from us, but it's still going to be, you know, upfront house music, raw, rugged, but it's going to be that, you know, awesome disco vocals and stuff. So really looking forward to that. That's kind of the main thing coming up. Jade Reed's got a birthday party coming up.
I saw that on Facebook.
Next Friday, is that right? I think it's going to be at Mickey's in Clive, so that'll be fun. You know, just us in a bar doing our thing. I'm sure there's some other stuff, but and you know, I'm not the kind of guy that announces stuff before I got it lined up, but you know, I haven't had a residency in a place for a long time. But there's been, as of very recently, there's been kind of a spark that I've wanted to do something more consistent. So as far as goals go, I think I want to try to get something going where I'm more consistently getting out there, because I've gotten to a point where I feel like I'm refining my sound quite a bit. So I want to put it out there consistently.
Yeah, makes sense. That's awesome. As always, too, all of Brad's links, his social media links that he's got, will be down in the description, and we'll link 8035 too. You might as well go buy your tickets for that.
Yeah, 8035 tickets actually went on sale right when we started this thing, about 10 a.m.
Yeah, Portugal the Man's headlining.
Yeah, right?
They actually tweeted me back when, because I knew that, like, Feel It Still, I was like, dude, this is going to be a banger. And then 6 months later, it was all over the radio here in Iowa, and then they won a Grammy for it. But they've always tweeted me back. They're awesome. And they were one of those guys I found back in college, like, what would that have been now, like 10 years ago or something like that. And, like, their first record was super, like, garage and, like, I mean, it's just such a different sound, you know, but like it was so weird to have them pop back up and then be like, yeah, Grammy winning band. And
I love that track.
Yeah, great guys. 8035's got a dope lineup though, so go check that out. That'll be linked in the description. Yeah, I mean, just thank you for sharing your time with me. Thank you for
having me. This is super fun.
Yeah, thanks for the donuts and the coffee. Anything else you want to say to all the people out there on the internet land?
You know, I think specifically for those people that know us from locally, you know, we say every year when it comes around to 8035 or 515 Live, and there's this huge crowd of people listening to electronic music, and often I've gotten on the mic and been like, if you guys enjoyed this tonight, come out and support throughout the year.
Oh, yeah.
You know, good dance, electronic, house, techno, and everything outside and in between. You know, it really is happening throughout the year, and if you enjoy it and like it, it may not always land in your lap, so go seek it out. Go find those parties, because they are definitely happening.
Yeah, and find people's Facebook pages and event pages and go like them, and it'll help you stay up to date on all that stuff. Heck yeah, man. Thanks so much again.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Awesome.
All right, guys. For Brad Goldman, T-Beck, until next time, guys, we out. Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. Thanks again to Brad Goldman for doing that episode of Donuts and DJs with me. Getting in a little skate therapy at the moment. Let me know what other questions you guys have for DJs out there. What dream guests you'd love to see on Donuts and DJs. Feel free to smash that like, share with your friends.
hit that subscribe so you don't miss any more radical content. Until next time, guys, T-Beck.